Heya, cryptozens. Tonight's stories. Vote on MiCA delayed. Libre Diem ex-devs launch Aptos. El Salvador opens Bitcoin-fueled vet hospital. The date is February 26, 2022. Welcome back to the Crypto Overnighter. I'm your host, Nick. The cover model for this podcast is Tex, and together we take a nightly look at the crypto, NFT, and metaverse space and the industry that surrounds it. We bring you new stories on familiar topics. And keep in mind, nothing in this show should ever be considered financial advice. Now, if you're new here and you find that you like this show, subscribe and rate us. If you're on Spotify, you can rate right from the app. Give Tex and I 5 stars. It will help other people find their way here. Now, there's a lot to talk about, so let's go. Yeah, still kind of horrible. More of the same. But there are some bright spots. Last night we talked about crypto sources of funding to help support Ukraine. Well, I can tell you a bit about how that seems to be going. I'm going to put a link to a page in the show notes. But this guy, Michael Silberling, sorry if I ruined your name, Michael. He was on Twitter asking for data sources. Using crypto wallet addresses, he put together a page to show how the charity funding was going. It's really actually neat. So here's a couple of numbers. As of a few seconds ago, a total of 9.03 million had been raised for various Ukraine funds. 17,673 individual donations from 8,878 people who stepped up. So quite a few people were doubling and tripling on this. And that runs the gamut from donations directly to the Ukraine government, to endowment, to relief.xyz, to Ukraine DAO. We talked about them last night. Unchained Fund, we also covered them. This is amazing to see this kind of support. Can you imagine how much of that money would have been lost just through the inefficiencies of other systems alone? Systems that are not as robust and are not as censorship resistant as crypto. Now, before we get into tonight's stories, let's take a quick look at the markets, because it's been a day. At the time of writing, the global crypto market cap is $1.75 trillion. That's down 2.24% in 24. The top 5 crypto by market cap are Bitcoin down 1.98%, Ethereum down 2.7%, Tether, Binance Coin down 3.44%, and USDC. The global NFT market cap is $10 billion. The top 5 NFT collections by 24-hour volume on OpenSea: Degen Tunes collection 116% up. Bored Apes down 64%. Pixelmon Generation 1 up 23%. And I'm going to depart here a bit, folks. I usually wouldn't do this, but I would stay away from this one. I'm hearing some bad juju about this one on crypto Twitter. It's starting to look like a scam. I can't swear that it is, but just do some extra research on this one. Weather Report International up 180%, and Mutant Apes up 16%. Keep in mind, some of these collections have very volatile prices, so do your own research. Vote on MiCA delayed. So, MiCA is the Markets in Crypto Assets Directive. Now, this was slated for a vote on the 28th, in a couple of days. It appears that is not going to happen. Now, this vote would have sent it from the European Parliament into negotiations. And those negotiations would have been between the European Parliament, Council of European Union, and European Commission. Now, all of that is in doubt. So, here's what MiCA would have done. It would have created a framework to cover the way transferable assets, crypto assets, the way they're issued, and what kind of services are available to them. Mainly, this would have depended on getting firms to be more transparent in the way that they do things, making sure that white papers are appropriately marked as ads. It says they need to be, quote, clearly identifiable as advertisements. Now, CBDCs are exempt from those rules. Same thing for loyalty point type tokens or NFTs or tokens that represent like physical things. And as always, there are some things that sneak into legislation that may not be found out until too late. Stefan Berger is the chairman of the Economics Committee. He is also in charge of that vote, a vote he has postponed. So remember those changes I was just talking about? Story is, according to a source that's close to the negotiations, they say a big point of contention was the late stage changes. That sounds a lot like bans on proof of work networks. That, of course, is due to energy usage. So that rumor got out that it sounded like that they were going to ban proof of work. Lots of bad press about that. And you know, crypto Twitter had something to say about it. In the end, the right and the center-right members withdrew their support for the amendments. Now, for his part, Berger tweeted out, "As rapporteur, it is central for me that the MiCA directive is not misinterpreted as a de facto Bitcoin ban." His office said they expect voting to happen in the next 2 to 4 weeks, so 14th of March to early April. Now, here's the thing. The European Parliament hasn't really publicized the most recent amendments all that much. Here's the text from a February 21st draft that really had some people spooked. It says, quote, "It is therefore urgent to highlight the need for consensus mechanisms to deploy more environmentally friendly solutions and call the Commission to identify those consensus mechanisms that could pose a threat to the environment having regard to energy consumption, carbon emissions, depletion of real resources, electronic waste, and the specific incentive structures. Unsustainable consensus mechanisms should only be applied on a small scale." So that delay was a welcome one for many people in crypto. Seth Hertlein is global head of policy for Ledger, which is, by the way, based in Paris. So, he said, quote, "Postponing the vote is the right decision, as several critically important issues in the bill remain unresolved. The future financial competitiveness of Europe depends on getting MiCA right." And keep in mind, European parliamentarians from Green and from socialist parties, and a number of regulators and lawmakers from states like Sweden and Germany and Spain, they've been on a kick to ban proof of work mining since at least November of last year on ecological grounds. Libre Diem ex-devs launch Aptos. Not all that long ago, Meta's Diem got shut down. We covered it right here. It started life as Libre, and it was going to be a stablecoin that was balanced against a basket of fiat currencies. Had support from PayPal, eBay, Visa, MasterCard. Then the regulators in Europe and in the US started to have some concerns that this new stablecoin would end up being used to get around their AML, their anti-money laundering laws. So maybe, as a way of shaking the old reputation or whatever, they decided to rebrand as Diem. That was in December of 2020. And that did not help. Fast forward a year, December 2021, David Marcus, one of the founders, stepped down as the project lead. I covered that actually soon after it happened. He stepped down because of multiple failed attempts to get approval. It just seemed like they were never really going to license Diem. So he stepped down, and as we covered here, Meta decided to sell the assets from Diem and try to make their investors whole. Now, if you remember Silvergate Capital Corporation, they're the company they were going to be the financial back end for the stablecoin. As it turns out, they bought the Diem intellectual property. They just recently announced a new project of their own. It seems some of the developers are ready to try again. A number of the devs have gotten together and revealed plans to launch a blockchain network as a separate protocol. This would include support for other Web3 solutions. Now, this news came through a blog post on Medium, and that one was dated Thursday, the 24th. According to this post, the new team is called Aptos Labs. They've assembled a number of experts. These experts are the original creators, researchers, designers, and builders of Diem. So That said, it doesn't sound like they're going for a stablecoin. And honestly, I don't blame them. Looking at all the regulation. No, they said they're working on a completely new project. They are focused on building the safest and most production-ready Layer 1 blockchain protocol in the world, according to them. They also said they used the original thesis from Libre's white paper to build their revamped decentralized network. Aptos is led by Avery Ching and Mo Sheikh. They had both previously worked on building the Meta Nova wallet. Also, Ching is looked at as the co-creator of the Byzantine Fault Tolerance, BFT, consensus protocol. This is a protocol that was deployed on Diem's blockchain. This fault tolerance makes sure that complex computer systems still continue to function even if a few pieces break down. Now, Sheikh highlighted that Facebook's initial idea was they were going to deliver a safe, scalable, neutral solution accessible by millions of users. Although pressure from regulators eventually led the social media giant to shut down the project. But he said that the vision isn't over. On his blog, he wrote, "We have had the luxury of thinking about these problems alongside some of the brightest engineers in the world for years. Since departing Meta, formerly Facebook, we've been able to put our ideas into motion, ditch bureaucratic red tape, and build an entirely new network from the ground up that brings them to fruition." Aptos also reportedly plans to secure $200 million in funding from major venture capital firm Andreessen Horowitz, along with a host of crypto investments from industry stakeholders. El Salvador opens Bitcoin-fueled vet hospital. I tell you, it's almost enough to get me to move there. So what am I talking about? One of the promises Nayib Bukele made last year was about a vet hospital. In October of 2021, he said that they were going to make use of $4 million in Bitcoin profit, and they were going to build a huge vet hospital in San Salvador. 4 months later, it opened its doors. Officially open on the 26th of February, the hospital is named Chivo Pets. It's open 24/7. It's got operating rooms, rehab, hospitalization facilities, quarantine rooms, and the like. And so today he tweeted out how much treatment will cost. And that's why I say it's almost enough to get me to move there, because I know what they cost here. While the hospital is named after the Chivo wallet, it only costs 25 cents worth of Bitcoin no matter what wallet you use. His tweet said as much. Said, quote, "Want to watch a video about Bitcoin and pets? Chivo Pets is the first ever Bitcoin fully funded animal hospital. Every treatment will only cost 25 cents paid in Bitcoin with any wallet." And then in the tweet was a link to a video about the hospital. Now, in addition to the animal hospital, El Salvador is also taking care of its humans. They opened up a cryptocurrency education center called La Casa del Bitcoin. That's right, the House of Bitcoin. It offers free and accessible learning opportunities for people willing to understand the asset's nature, which is important because that's their legal tender now. And that's going to do it for us tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. Do you have questions or comments about the show? Reach out and let us know. Send us an email at crypto.overnighter@gmail.com. That's crypto.overnighter@gmail.com. You can also find us on Tworum and on Twitter. Links to those platforms are going to be in the show notes. Now, please, if you could, subscribe, like, share, comment, and review the podcast. It would really help Tex and I out. It would also help other people find their way to this content. So getting the word out there helps both them and us. Oh, hey, give Crypto in 5 minutes a listen. We've got 28 educational videos and counting. 5 minutes to explain one concept in crypto. The most recent one I did was about the SWIFT network, which is really timely because right now they're talking about cutting Russia off from the SWIFT network. So maybe it'll help you understand what it is. And until then, may peace